there, welcome back to another video. I am Ramona, and this one is, have you seen God in a dream? Since there's a question about Jesus, I am curious if you have ever seen God. So, ready? Here we go. Well, maybe. Okay, no, but I've seen heaven in my dreams. I've had several dreams where I met God, but in all those cases, God was appearing to me in a very specific human or human-like form. In one dream, I met God, but he was just one of the many species of gods. He was a computer programmer who told me that Earth was a program and that he'd made it still in beta and wanted my feedback on any bugs. He then told me that he would try out the demo version if I wanted to, and handed me a CD that he'd written Earth V1.5 on. He looked just like a regular dude with glasses and dark hair and a white button-up shirt. Another time, I had a dream that there was a murder at my workplace, and a private investigator came along with the cops and introduced himself to me as Tad Kirk, and asked to speak to me privately. There, he told me that he was God, and the murder was committed by demons and was related to escalating violence between heaven and hell, and that the apocalypse was approaching. He proved to me that he was God by handing me a coin on which there was engraved a scene from a childhood memory of mine that nobody else could have known about. I'm an atheist, for reference. Don't believe in God at all, but I have enjoyed the dreams in which I've got to meet him or other gods. And someone replied with, that is literally the scariest shit I've ever heard. Okay. Okay. I was an atheist when I dreamed I met Jesus on the edge of a forest. He said the path into the forest and the path out of the forest are not the same path. And all I could say was, why am I, of all people, dreaming about Jesus? After I woke up, I was never really the same. Reminds me of the poem, The Road Not Taken. That poem changed me as well, for worse, maybe, if I want to name my feelings something. After reading and analyzing on a fall day in my reading poetry class, I had a hard time living peacefully, always thinking that if the road I am not taking is the right one and never end up where I'm supposed to be. A while after that, my meditation journey started. Throughout that, I have learned that no matter what road you take, it always ends up that you are supposed to learn, experience, and see. It's actually very good advice. I'm going to be honest here. I think that this is very normal, mundane explanations for why I had the first dream. People who are prone to spiritual thinking are very likely attach more meaning to it than it deserves. The fact that we've grown up in an era where computer programming is understood to be a part of creation, we know that we can create simulated worlds already, albeit in a very basic, bare-bones level, for either educational, research, or recreational purposes. It's not that big of a leap for our subconscious minds to associate this act of digital creation with our bigger questions about the origins of the universe. Scientists will debate the possibility of the universe being a simulation, and of course we all grew up with the Matrix films and similar media about that idea. Hello, I study dreams independently. What you mentioned about the man's face in your dreams changing like that was a phenomenon associated with increased lucidity. In a typical non-lucid dream, we project faces into the dream characters. That is, they can change from one scene to another, typically without our noticing it. If lucidity increases, we begin to notice these changes as they happen and also stop projecting as much into the dream environment, resulting in a more consistent scene. There's lots of different takes on this. Okay, no problem. This next one is, yes, in my dream, kids were trying to reach out to him. They were coming through a portal, as I am there, and it's just I have intentionally connected Earth and heaven. But he is purposely ignoring them, like a shy teen boy who just wants to be left alone. I confronted him about it, and he proceeded to close the portal. I have had a dream, and in it I was aware that there was about to be an alien obliteration of our species on the Earth. The alien or aliens responsible were so big I could not see them. I remember thinking to myself in the dream, they were as big as God. I was thinking about it after I woke up, and I thought, if are things so small we can't see them, that it really makes sense that there are beings so big we can't see them either. I dreamed that I was at a huge gathering, like a sat sing. God was there to give a rare talk. She was surrounded by a whole retinue of other high beings of light, and there was a celebratory feeling in the air. Everyone was so excited and eager to be there. There was music and dancing. I felt honored to be included. I think her talk was very moving, but I couldn't say what it was about. When I was a kid, I had a dream me and my family were all together walking on the boardwalk that was sort of like this cross-hatch and had squares of water in between each boardwalk. We were all looking for this specific water pig, a pig that swam underwater, as if we were all sure we would need to catch it. We were all discussing how it was poisonous and that the poison it gave off when touched was enough to kill someone. I remember thinking we needed to catch it with something like a net or something. All of a sudden, I'm in the water and I have no shoes on, and I know that I shouldn't be in the water, but I don't know how I got there. I had this feeling that we would never find it because it was so rare and no one ever caught up with one before, so I thought it would be safe. The next step I took, I saw the water pig underneath me and stepped on it. As I stepped on it, it gave out its poison, and I felt it kill me. It was quite painful, but also a very weird sensation of feeling like I had died. I felt myself sort of sucked into another place. I was standing in front of a giant door, and out of the door was a very bright light. I knew it was God. I could not see a human figure, although there were parts of this interaction that were sort of metaphorically feeling of a person being there. He told me that it was not my time to die yet, and I couldn't go back to be the same person. I was sad that I could not be with my family again, so I thought I would rather live again and have another chance than for life to be all over together. He told me I would not remember who I was and that I could be reborn. I accepted. The next thing I was walking over a hill, which I can describe looked like the old window screen background. Blue sky, green grass. I remember fully believing that I was this new person and had no real immediate memory that I was myself. There were some other guys beside me who sort of looked like the Backstreet Boys. We were famous, and there were thousands of people following us all over the hill. I smiled, and there was lots of media trying to take pictures of us. I remember thinking how wow, God was giving me a second chance, but I could not remember my life before. All I could remember was the giant door and speaking with God. It was only after I woke up I remember who I really was and the part of the water pig. I think I was about 7 or 10 years old. Weird, wildest and most prominent dream I can remember was a part of my life. That was kind of crazy. I liked it. It's kind of crazy. I did have a dream about Jesus several months ago. It was like one of those dreams where you feel half awake and you can get up if you want, but you try to keep sleeping. He was sitting near my bed with a chair on his forearms, resting on his legs with his hands resting on one another and leaning forward. He didn't say anything, I think. He seemed kind of really serious or maybe even sad. Then I jumped up excitedly and told my brother. The dream I had of God was around 8 to 10 years ago. He was giant, walking through a lush rainforest as far as you could see. He was so giant that his shoulders were in the clouds. I couldn't see his body because it was covered in what looked like a swarm of bees. I could only see his legs below the knees and his feet. I somehow looked closer and saw that they weren't bees, but they were people. Countless people, like they were surrounding him in a cloud. I think this dream was showing me how close people are actually to God, and they surround him and are a part of him. I am an atheist, but I had a dream once where I was in heaven and was really a beautiful place. It was a very warm, vibrant, colorful island in the middle of an ocean. No, but I've had a conversation with the devil. He was going on about how everyone is fake and don't get attached to people. I have a post, and if you want to know the truth, I will give you the truth. I found myself walking in a small town. I believe the street was cobblestone or some kind of stone, and the buildings on my left. As we were walking down the street, the Holy Spirit was on my right side, and the building on my left was 1 to 2 stories brick or stone, and it was squarish straight up. Around the side of the building was a ramp about 4 feet wide and some kind of stone, and the ramp went up with a smaller building where the animals were. The Holy Spirit asked if I wanted to see the child inside the building, and for some reason I said no, but I was ushered into the building, and there were people around the child, and they parted ways so I could step in to see the child. I did not see the child. What I saw was light, much like the light of a star, except way brighter, and when the light hit me, there was a joy that was unspeakable that permeated from my head to my toes. It was joy like I've never felt in my life, and I believe this was the Lord Jesus. Yes, when I was 16, I came out to my parents, and then I had a dream that God came to me in the form of a crystal lion, but it was pretty small, like dog-sized. I asked it questions about things that I was worried about, like my parents thinking bad things about me for being gay, etc. God was very compassionate and said reassuring things to me. The song Go Lion by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs always makes me think of this dream, even though the lion was Christian. Someone else says, no, I only heard his voice. Yes, I saw the Holy Trinity in a dream once. No, never. Not that I'm aware of, sadly. I don't really believe in a god, but I have, or any religion, but I have had close contact with a sentient giant lion, which could be a representation of a Rastafari. I have had contact with a biblical demon as well. Both felt very powerful in a way, but that's mostly what I made them out to be. Yes, I have. I dreamt that when I was a little girl, I was sitting in Jesus' lap, facing away from him and facing forward in the same direction as him. Then I heard him say, "Don't know who loves you more." Yes, when I was a kid, I used to be very rough with my brother. I would make him cry and be like, "Oh my God, you're fine, you're fine. Don't tell mom. You can hit me back." Anyway, when I was about 9, it all accumulated in God coming to me in a dream and telling me that I needed to stop being so mean to my brother. Best part is, canonically, that God, Allah, wanted to sprout Christianity and Islam. He sent the angel Gabriel to Mary and Muhammad, respectively. For whatever reason, my subconscious thought this was serious enough or warranted God to personally come and talk to me. No, not God, but I did see Jesus in a dream years ago. I had a dream I interpreted it as the gates of Eden, heaven. It was the most beautiful dream ever. It also happened when I was sick with a high fever, though. For some reason, I am convinced that God was a UFO in one of my dreams. I imagine that's because God cannot be identified as a specific location, because it's everywhere. I don't believe in specific God or gods, so I've never had a dream with one. But it's very common for people to dream with their own superstitions and phenomena of their beliefs. For example, like Christianity's God or Jesus. I've had dreams about Cthulhu before, but not about the Abrahamic God. I had a dream about Archangel Michael, and in that dream there was a voice that was speaking to me from within. It wasn't my voice. It was a booming voice that sounded like thunder. It was a very odd dream, but I remember it vividly. I've had an assortment of dreams over the years in which I've met beings that were some kind of deity, included but not limited to Papa Legba, Freya, Isis, Jesus, and a few other angels, etc. One in which I met a representation of God. It was quite a strange one. I met him before a doorway, and something quite dark was after him. It was my job to protect him from whatever this darkness was that was after him. After the battle was done, I had a very long conversation with him that I can't remember. And I just remember feeling so at peace. Like, it's so hard to describe what this present was like. But take the most unconditional love that you can imagine and amplify it to the point where you would feel uncomfortable to be in it, in receipt of so much love, but it feels so natural that you don't. Anywho, when I woke up, still feeling blissful and peaceful, I endeavored to draw the person I met in the dream. So here you go. The person I met is gone. I was actually going to be punished for being an atheist by God, so then I became lucid and made his head explode. I once was on the border of being awake and asleep and saw a beheaded technicolor head of Jesus. Scared me fully awake because the image is disturbing. I'm an atheist, so it doesn't mean anything to me, but it was a very memorable image. He is scared to come to my dreams because of what he has done to my life. I've had a dream of him many times, even angels in my dreams. Bow their heads. I'm assuming bow their heads. When I went from atheist to a believer, God appeared as the ocean and told me something huge is about to be revealed to you. Not seen, but I've talked to God in my dreams many times. One time, the God in my dreams let me shapeshift so that I could leave church without anyone realizing it was me. So I'm pretty chill with the dream God, mostly because he's nothing like the Christian God. I had a dream when I was about 26. I'm 42 now. I was looking up at the sky, and first I had seen Mary. I was not in any way religious. I didn't revere Mary at all and was a pretty angry agnostic atheist at the time. Anyway, I seen her, and the colors of her veil were so vivid. Beautiful blue that I can't describe, what she was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen, and then directly to her left was Jesus. I immediately fell on my knees in adoration and was completely wow, and just saying to myself over and over, he's real, he's real. When I opened my eyes, he was standing in front of me, but he was a child. He began to walk and talk to other people, and I was following him. I was completely enamored and didn't want him to leave. Then the dream switched as they do, and he was grown again, wearing white. We were standing next to a road. A car was approaching. I didn't want to get in, but it was my ride, and Jesus said, "The angry one needs the most love." That was it. I had a couple of experiences while awake that made me think I was being called to the Catholic Church. I converted to Catholicism in 2013. I have since lost faith and consider myself an atheist now, but I still have a soft spot for the Mary figure. I once believed that she brought her son to me and I was saved, but I don't think that anymore. Sometimes, though, I wish I did. I love practicing Catholicism. I'm an atheist, but yeah, kind of. That was just an extraordinary bright light and lots of human arms the size of skyscrapers falling around. It felt like listening to the voice in the shadow of the Colossus that tells you where the next one is. I was a religious kid back then and feeling afraid of him like for a sin of some reason, so I kind of tried to convince myself that I was happy to see him. Nothing he said seemed to make sense to a bunch of random instructions, but it didn't seem to have much of a purpose. Even after I did what he asked, nothing happened. I was extremely paranoid for the next week, for seemingly no reason, and I was later diagnosed with schizophrenia in high school, which was long after I had abandoned the religion. I often get dreams of the opposite, the devil, in my dreams. The devil does not look how it is commonly portrayed. It's instead a creepy-looking cyborg MF. It had a gray and white mechanical robotic torso and limbs with which appears to be a giant decayed human head with the black holes for eyes and mouth, short curly hair, and a crown. It may chase people. It may turn people into robots. It may shapeshift into humans and stare at people and speak to them with robotic voices. It is completely immortal and indestructible, has the ability to self-duplicate. That's a little freaky. Yes, I was about 7 or so, and my uncle had just passed away, and I said something a few months back that was rude, and I couldn't remember it. So fast forward about three or 4 weeks after he had passed, I had seen Jesus, and I remember asking if I could see my uncle, and asked if he was in heaven, which he said yes, he was, and that I could see him. As I got deeper into the dream, I was in a cloud of fog, and I walked and walked until I found a bench, and my uncle was sitting on it, and we just talked, and I apologized, and he said it was okay. And I asked when I die, would me and my family go, and he said yes. And we would just sat there talking until he told me it was time for him to go. And he loved me and my family, and he said, "I'll see you later, buddy. Love you." I started to walk away into the fog, and then I woke up. While I am unsure if it was a god, the most impactful dream I've had was one where I was floating, but moving through the sky. There were puffy white clouds, and the sun was radiating. I heard a woman's voice. It was melodious, angelic. She asked me why I never go to the other places. I responded back that I try, but my mind stops me. Then the dream stopped, and my mind felt like it was breaking or shaking. I was waking up, but couldn't move. I compare it to feeling like a night terror. But the difference there is that there was nothing scary, and the feeling was the most intense thing I've ever felt. My gods are primarily metaphorical, so talking about them the closest you can get to seeing them, really. And I have talked to them in dreams before, so I would say so. As a child, I had a few dreams about God. God wasn't in a humanoid form in these dreams. It was like it was in space. I could see stars in this red grid plane, like you see in 80s or retro vaporwave art, floating in space. I saw a bright light on the horizon of the grid, bright like a star. I can't remember the details, but somehow I knew this was God. I attended a Southern Baptist church as a child. Whenever I heard the word God at church or anywhere, the image I saw in my mind was the image from my dream, the red grid in space. Then I became a pagan, not Wiccan, then an atheist, then pagan again. And I guess my religion now is basically simulation theory. In one dream, God took a form that was hard for me to explain. It was a metallic object that was floating and could change shape or color. It was more like a mini metallic object moving. The best way I can describe it is like the AI entity from the movie Oblivion, and like in the last Matrix movie. The machine thing that was constantly moving or looking like a big face talking to Neo. Yes, I went through the apocalypse, got to Judgment Day, and met God, Jesus, and Joseph Smith. I was raised Mormon and never bought into any of it. I went through a literal trial in the courtroom and attacked God for all of the sick, evil shit that's happening to me, people I know, and the entire world throughout history. I beat the living shit out of him so badly that he canceled the whole thing and left. Here's one of the times. I was laying in bed and couldn't sleep, and Jesus walked in and said that if you are with me, go to sleep, and I was knocked out. He then held me out of my body and asked me to be closer to God. I saw a tunnel with white light, and I said, I'm not good enough. And he said, I already won for us. Then I looked at him, and he was unrecognizable. He had blood all over him, and I was in shock. He looked awful. Then I woke up. Not just God, but Greek and Roman gods. The last one I remember, Christian God was giving me a tour of heaven, and I said it was too bright. He looked like a handsome older man with white facial hair, not a long beard, and wore a fancy suit. I have been God in a dream, and I'm an atheist. No, but I have seen saints, and I can't figure out what they mean. I have a couple of times. He was like a presence in the sky. It's hard to explain. He spoke to me in one dream, but I can't remember what he said. I'm not religious, by the way. I mean, I saw God, I believe, in a dream, but it wasn't the Christian God. It was Njord. He was guiding and protecting me, and he was patient with me when I randomly tried to help out a group of penguins. No, but I've seen people he's taken up to heaven. No, but I had a horrible lucid dream that a demon was keeping me from turning around, and when it told me to let go, when I told it to let go, out of nowhere I said, I am God, with the horrible guttural voice. By far, it was the creepiest experience I've had in a dream. I haven't, but my mom has, several times. I remember her telling me that when I was younger, God would appear to her in her dreams and send angels into her dreams to communicate with her. She said one time God came to her in a dream and told her to move to California. She was in Texas at the time. She somehow convinced her parents to move there, and then she met my dad. She thinks God was guiding her to my dad so they could meet each other. To this day, that story still gives me a weird, unsettling feeling. I don't know why. I think it's wild how many people are atheists here and have met God in a dream. No judgment, just observing. Yeah, kind of. I was young when I had it, though. It was a weird dream, and I remember Jesus being sort of a dickhead, especially considering how I was a child who had just died because the sun fell on top of me. But he kept complaining about how I was inconveniencing him. God came later. I think I had to go find him to be revived. That sounds like a video game. I mean, that's cool, but I've heard him. It was a week ago. It was a week-long series of dreams. They would continue exactly where they left off the previous night. It was me walking through a large abandoned house. All the houses and doors, or windows and doors, were boarded up, so I was just trapped inside. It was dark, and I came across a staircase. I climbed them and found myself in a long hallway. At the very end was a light, and an open door with a light on inside. I reached it and stepped inside. Once inside, it was so incredibly bright, almost blinding. I looked around, and I was in total whiteness. I couldn't see any walls, floors, doors, etc. Then suddenly I hear someone say my name. It was a deep, masculine voice. They told me it wasn't my time yet, and that I needed to go back. I woke up and never had one of those dreams again. No, I've seen ghosts, though. It's a dream, not real. Once shown to me by a friend who passed a long time ago, God was just a ball of energy, looked like a huge plasma ball made of static. I was told in the dream that everything in our existence is made of energy. Not in a specific form, but more of a presence, like the sky was glowing behind clouds and stuff. I haven't seen God in a dream, but I've always had warning dreams where I've heard his voice. I've been a Christian and healed miraculously of a eating disorder, but after a messy divorce, I dabbled into Ouija boards, rituals, witchcraft. I had a dream of an extremely claustrophobic, burning furnace. As I looked inside, I saw human bones, and the back of the furnace led down into a deep, dark pit. I heard the most torturous, blood-curdling screams that still impact me to this day. Then I saw a construction landscape, but every building had been crumpled to the ground, as if the landscape had been utterly destroyed. God clearly said in the dream, "This will happen to you if you keep using that Ouija board." A few days later, I found scripture that talks about the unbelievers at Christ's return being thrown into a fiery furnace, where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. I threw out all of my occult items after that. I had a dream once where I was very young and I was in heaven and I saw God. It was a genderless, white, almost indescribable color light in the air that spoke a really weird language. I have met the Divine Mother Shakti, and I'm not even Hindu. Who knows what God or Jesus is? I suspect we are in for a rude awakening when it comes to us learning that our world religions were based on. It's hard to say because we are all interacting with our minds. I've seen people and non-humans and they looked as real humans in real life, but they were in my mind. I didn't imagine them. They just appeared. Who knows what we are experiencing? I feel like advanced quantum AI in my mind, creating when I can consciously dream or meditate, but it also feels spiritual. I've seen Greek gods in my dreams. One was the second after I woke up from a creepy yokai dream. The Greek gods even thanked me for helping them. Yes, he was hideously ugly and had a bulbous nose. I did not want to talk to him and tried to avoid him. 100% do not recommend. I've been medically declared dead once. No spoilers, sorry. When I dream, I usually am God. Not like a god, but presenting as a god. I'm just casually traverse my dreamscape as a god. Yes, she's terrifying. Once while a year or two ago, rest of the dream was unrelated, but in the dream I was a little kid and was friends with a girl my age, who near the end of the dream led me through the woods to a weird-looking city where we walked up a staircase in the center of it until we couldn't see the ground through all the clouds, which became a plain white floor. Shit looked like that scene in SpongeBob where Squidward is in some weird purgatory. Anyway, she started to walk in front of me, and I noticed a crack in the back of her head, which opened up all the way to reveal a large eye, and she revealed herself to be a god, and said some shit I don't remember. As weird as fuck, especially considering the rest of the dream was literally me as just some random little ass boy playing in the woods. Christian here. I've only seen God in a couple of dreams. In those, he appears as some sort of giant deity, similar to how people sometimes say God is in the sky. Yes, it was 3 years ago, and I had 3 dreams about him talking to me about things I haven't told a soul about. He was pure light, and he laughed at my jokes and talked about my experiences and existence with him, even though he knows he told me I'll be in heaven after I die. It was a promise. The second dream I had was in a valley where he spoke to Moses and showed me the location of the valley. The weird thing is that he called me the same nickname he gave to Moses. There's a lot of details, but this is all I can share so far. I felt his presence in 2 dreams, but I've never seen him. The first dream was when I was younger, maybe middle school. That night, I was thinking how damaging a specific sin was and couldn't sleep. This was before I ever read the Bible. And I was asking God, why does such a thing exist over and over? When I did fall asleep, I saw white, just white. I felt a presence, too. It was beautiful. When I woke up, I heard his voice in my heart saying, forgive. It literally felt like a message that was put on my heart. Again, this was before I ever read the Bible, which wasn't until my mid-20s. My second dream was after I was being born again. I felt that there was too much darkness in my life that God couldn't accept me back. I was just learning about the Bible and reading it for the first time. In my dream, I was tormented and in agony. It felt like it was never ending. Then out of nowhere, it stopped, and I felt his presence. It was the most peaceful presence I've ever experienced, and I knew it was God. Those are my experiences being in his presence. All right, well, I hope you have enjoyed that video. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, share. What's the other thing? Like, share, comment. That's the word. Anyway, so go watch another video, listen to another video, tell me what you think, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, and bye.